All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about one of the most famous, most successful, and honestly, one of the most paradoxical fighter planes in history, the Messerschmitt Bf 109. This thing was the absolute backbone of the German Luftwaffe, a true symbol of air power that completely dominated the skies. But it also had a really dark, deadly secret. So first off, just look at this number. 34,852. That is the estimated number of these planes that were built. It is, by a long shot, the most produced fighter aircraft in history. I mean, ever. For years, this thing was the absolute workhorse of the German military. And it wasn't just about quantity, right? It was about deadly quality. The guys who flew this thing became legends. We're talking about the top 3 fighter aces of all time: Erich Hartmann, Gerhard Barkhorn, and Günter Rall. All of them achieved their just mind-boggling victory counts flying this exact plane. Between just those 3 pilots, that's 928 confirmed victories. It's a legacy that is simply unmatched. But here's the twist. Here is the central paradox of this whole story. If this plane was so successful, flown by the best of the best, why on earth was it a death trap? And here's the kicker. I'm not talking about getting shot down in combat. No. Thousands of pilots, from green rookies to seasoned aces, were killed by the Bf 109 itself. To really get this, we've got to rewind. We have to go back to the beginning, back to the 1930s. Germany is rearming, kind of on the sly, and they give this designer, William Messerschmitt, a heck of a job. Create a fighter that will outperform absolutely everything else in the sky. And man, did he deliver. What he came up with was a total game changer. I mean, these features you see here, an all-metal body, a closed cockpit, landing gear that tucked away neatly, this stuff was revolutionary for the mid-30s. While a lot of other countries were still flying biplanes made of wood and fabric, the Bf 109 was like a spaceship, a massive leap into the future. And it didn't take long for this plane to prove its worth. After its first flight in '35, it was rushed into service. Its first taste of combat came in the Spanish Civil War, and, well, it just dominated. It chewed up the older fighters it faced, giving the Luftwaffe a priceless combat experience and a terrifying new reputation. But, and there's always a but, isn't there? Baked right into that revolutionary design was a fundamental, catastrophic flaw. A choice made in the name of performance that would end up having lethal consequences for so many pilots. Okay, so this is it. This is the whole problem. You see, most fighters had their landing gear set wide apart, mounted on the wings. For stability. It just makes sense. Messerschmitt, though, mounted the gear directly to the body of the plane. Now, why would he do that? Well, it made the plane sleeker in the air, and the wings were easier to pop off for maintenance. Great for speed, great for the mechanics, but on the ground, it was an absolute nightmare. The wheels were just way, way too close together. And the price for that design choice? Look at this number. Around 1,700. That's 1,700 pilots. Dead. Not in some epic dogfight with a Spitfire. No, they died in simple takeoff and landing accidents. They were killed by their own plane, often before they ever even saw the enemy. To put that in perspective, that's about 10% of all Bf 109s ever built, lost in non-combat incidents. Think about that for a second. For every 10 of these fighters that rolled off the assembly line, one was pretty much destined to be wrecked in a ground accident. That is a truly catastrophic loss rate. And this wasn't some minor quirk. It was a life or death struggle every single time the plane was on the ground. That narrow gear meant it was super prone to just tipping over, or worse, skidding out of control in what's called a ground loop. Then you've got this monster engine trying to wrench the plane sideways on takeoff. And to top it all off, you could barely see over the nose. For a rookie pilot, it was a recipe for disaster. And yet, and this is where the story gets even stranger, despite this deadly flaw, there was one place where the Bf 109's strengths led to almost mythical success: the massive, brutal expanse of the Eastern Front. I mean, this table just says it all, doesn't it? The top 3 aces in all of history, with kill counts that seem impossible today, all flew the Bf 109, and they built their legends in the skies over the Soviet Union. So why was it so good there? Well, the air war on the Eastern Front played directly to the 109's strengths. It was a master of speed and climbing. It was the perfect plane for what they called boom and zoom tactics. You dive on a less advanced Soviet fighter, fire a quick burst, and then use your superior power to climb away to safety, ready to do it all over again. It was brutally effective. But flip the coin. Let's go to the war over the West. That same aircraft, the peerless hunter from the East, faced a strategic and just decisive failure during the Battle of Britain. And this chart shows you exactly why. It was all about range. The Bf-109 was designed as a short-range interceptor, a home defense fighter. It was never meant to be a long-range escort. So flying from bases in France, it was operating at the absolute razor's edge of its fuel supply. And this number is the critical takeaway. By the time a Bf-109 pilot actually got over London, they had only about 10 to 15 minutes of fuel to actually fight before the warning lights started flashing and they had to turn for home. You can't stay and fight. You can't protect the bombers you're escorting. It was a catastrophic limitation. As the war dragged on, the Bf-109 was pushed into roles it was never designed for, and frankly, its age was starting to show. The once dominant Predator was now facing overwhelming odds. In the later years of the war, the 109's most dangerous job was to intercept the massive daylight bombing raids of the Americans. This meant flying head-on into huge formations of B-17 flying fortresses. And let me tell you, attacking one of these bomber formations was practically a suicide mission. Each B-17 had up to 13 heavy machine guns, and they flew in these tight combat boxes to defend each other. A 109 pilot had to dive through a literal wall of lead, try to get a few shots off in one high-speed pass, and then just pray they could escape the crossfire. This quote just captures the tragic end of the story. By 1944, Germany was running out of experienced pilots. They were sending young, barely trained recruits up in an aging fighter to face superior Allied planes and veteran pilots. The results were a massacre. So when we look back at the Messerschmitt Bf-109, what do we really see? It's not a simple story of a hero or a villain. It's a story of profound contradiction. It was a revolutionary design that set records, but its strategic limitations were laid bare over Britain. It was the right of choice for the world's greatest aces on one front, but a death trap for rookies on another. And through it all, its most persistent, deadliest enemy was often the runway right beneath its wheels. Which really leaves us with this final question. Was this legendary aircraft a true masterpiece of engineering, a weapon that changed the face of air combat? Or was it a tragic compromise, a brilliant design forever haunted by a single, fatal flaw? The answer, just like the plane itself, is incredibly complicated.